On today's episode of the Riderflex podcast. Story about the time she touched my leg. An employee, a female employee. Yep, somebody that reported to me. Put her hand on my leg. We were out at a restaurant / bar. Probably not the best position to put myself in at the time, quite honestly. But I want to tell you this story, and I want to provide some encouragement here. First, let me tell you the story. I was in my, I think, early 40s, was traveling on the road with a female employee that reported to me. We had been working all day. Afterwards, before going to the hotel we were staying at, we went to dinner. This dinner happened to be at a restaurant with a bar that we didn't know it at the time, but they had some live music, etc. So we're hanging out, had some drinks, had some beers, had some food, sitting there listening to the live music. You know, the night's kind of winding down, whatever. And she's sitting by me, and her hand slides over onto my thigh, kind of my inner thigh, kind of, in a position where she's sending a signal, obviously. And it caught me off guard a little bit. I was surprised. And I sit there for, I don't know, it seemed like forever. It's probably just a few seconds, but there was a pause because I really didn't know what to do at the time. So I did nothing. I just sat there. I didn't know what to do. I didn't say anything. I didn't look at her. I just kind of froze. Anyway, she withdrew her hand eventually, and she didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. We just kind of almost pretend like it didn't happen, right? We got in the car, went back, went to our separate rooms. Nothing happened. Next morning, met her for coffee. She didn't bring it up. I didn't bring it up. Pretend like it never happened. Now, I reflect back now, right? And of course, I'm assuming that if I would have followed up on it, something probably could have happened. And I think about that, and I'm just so glad that I didn't do anything stupid. First of all, I have never done that at any point in my life to my first wife or my current wife, Kim. I never did that to either one of my wives. Never will. But the real reason for the episode is not marital advice. The reason for the episode is sleeping with your employees. Like, sleeping with somebody that reports to you directly, it's never a good idea. It's never a good idea. Now, I know there might be some people out there listening to this episode, very few, very tiny percentage, where maybe your current spouse reported to you at one point, you ended up having an affair at work, and then you got married, you lived happily ever after, etc. Okay. There are a few exceptions like that, but for the most part, it never works out. It never works out. You end up creating this super stressful environment, and then you end up not liking each other, and then there's problems. I mean, it's just, the list goes on and on and on, right? How do I know? Well, number one, I'm 54, so I've seen it in the workplace many times. I've had friends that made this mistake and got involved. I've had employees that work for me that slept with other employees that I had to deal with as a CEO. So I've seen it. It always crashes. It crashes every time. And really, whether you're male or female, set that aside for a minute. As the supervisor, I mean, you've really got to be the smarter person, right? I don't care if you're the male or the female. If you're the supervisor and your direct report is making a pass at you, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. It will never be worth it. Think about it like this. Okay. You think one little fling, this little fling, you think this fling is going to be so awesome that it's worth your job? Or even worse, if you're married, worth blowing up your family? Really? It won't be. It won't be. It won't be. I don't care how beautiful the person is or how attracted you are to them or whatever emotions are running through your blood system at the time. It ain't going to be worth it, man. It won't be. I've seen it. I've seen people turn their lives upside down because of some little fling, because they were at a conference in Vegas and somebody that reported to them made a pass and they went back to the hotel room then that person got mad later on and they told their boss and then blah, blah, blah. I mean, it just, I mean, think about it. You sleep with your direct report and then, I don't know, 4 months later, you got to write them up for something. And then they're like, oh, you're going to write me up for my performance? Okay, well, I'm going to tell your boss about the time you slept with me in Vegas. I mean, think about it. Come on, man. Be smarter than that. Not a good idea. I highly recommend you don't do it. Now, one more thing I want to mention on this topic for the married folks out there. And I've worked with thousands of people. Rarely have I seen married people do something dumb like that. Super rare. I know you watch TV or you watch movies, right? Like Hollywood kind of gives off this impression like married people are flying around the country, just, sleeping with people all the time. That's not true. That's not true. That's not what I've seen. Most people that work for a living and are married, they fly around the country. They're tired as hell. They go to the hotel room. They get something to eat. They go to bed. Maybe they go to the bar, but they don't just pick up some random person at the hotel bar and take them back to the room. I mean, that is super rare. I have witnessed a couple of people doing that that I respected at the time and didn't respect later because I knew their families, right? I knew their wife and kids, and I'm like, what are you doing, man? Oh my God. And I did not have relations with those people afterwards when I saw them do that. So I just wanted to point out that I don't think most married people do something like that. I think that's Hollywood. My main message is for you single folks that have direct reports. Don't be sleeping with your employees, man. Not a good idea. It's going to backfire on you. I highly recommend that when she puts her hand on your leg, you do nothing or you remove it or whatever, but don't follow through. And there is your Riderflex tip of the day.